Okay. We'll give it just a minute more, let everyone get joined, connected. It's nice to see you, Marilyn and Jim. To see you all. We'll just give it one more minute before we get the meeting started.
Oops, are you expecting some more to get on this? We got 9 of us now. Oh, is it okay if I take off my face mask?
Yeah, I think that's all right, Jim.
Well, the thing is, I'm within 6 feet of all of you, and it could be dangerous. And also, my breath might not smell very good with it off. I got to put my smile on. Excuse me.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah, I got what, 5 people on now? That's about good, I'd say. We might have a couple more folks trickle in, but we can get started with introductions if that sounds good.
Good.
Oh, sorry.
No, I got my smile on now.
Oh, great. Love to see it, Jim. So hi, everyone. This is the Poverello Center's monthly online supporter update. We are going to be talking about shelter services this month and also be holding, just the opportunity to for anyone to ask questions or voice concerns that they have as well, so we can kind of have that conversational space. I'm going to kick us off with introductions, so we'll just round robin to everyone's screens. And my question today is what everyone's favorite snow activity is, since it's so beautiful out. So hi, my name's Sarah, she, her pronouns. I'm the communications coordinator at the Poverello Center, and my favorite snowy activity is snowshoeing. Jesse, would you like to go next?
Yeah, my name is Jesse Jager. I'm the Director of Development Advocacy at the Poverello Center, he, him pronouns, and I really like to go cross-country skiing. Is one of my favorite snowy activities. Trina, how about you go next?
Hey, hi, I'm Trina. I'm lead staff at the Poverello and J Street. And I think my favorite activity is just walking in the woods with the snow and the trees and just the beauty of that.
Lisa, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Lisa. I'm the Director of Programs here at the POV. My favorite snowy activity, yeah, similarly would be probably just like walking in the snow. I also love to go to Forest Service cabins in the winter, and usually kind of more accessible ones, and just kind of enjoy the cool weather and the fire. So that's kind of my fun activity. Liam, I don't think you went yet.
Yeah, my name's Liam Morrison, he, him pronouns, Development Associate of the Poverello Center, and probably downhill skiing. I haven't gone in years, so I hope saying it will help motivate me to actually do it this winter. Probably also drinking hot cocoa.
Jim, would you like to go next?
Who, me? Who? No, Jan? Oh,
Yeah,
excuse
you.
me. Yeah, I haven't skied for quite a while, but what I do remember most is when my second son was about 2.5, 3 years old. I took him up to Marshall Mountain and taught him how to ski. And he would get between my legs. I had my legs spread apart. He'd get between my legs with his short skis on. He'd put an arm around each of my thighs, and we would go. And he was so much fun. He would always tell me which way to go. And he thought the whole object of skiing was to crash. And so it's funny, but later on when he was skiing on his own, he would come down the slope and go off the runway into the timber and crash, and then get up, go a little bit more and crash. That's my memory of skiing. And someone said about getting out into the forest. I love that too. I'm a tree doctor, you see. So I'm a tree hugger. And that's why I have my alternative picture here is me in my work clothes, you see. That's my rope to hang up in the tree so I can go out on a branch. And I do go out on a branch for my clients. That's a good comment. And I have it doesn't show, but I got a chainsaw hanging off my belt. And this was taken a long time ago before they required you to wear hard hats. You see, I got a soft hat on. Okay, I gotta shut up.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, Jim. That's delightful. Marilyn, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Yes, I'm Marilyn Lamayich, just a donor to the Poverello. And I used to love to ski and snowshoe. I haven't done that for a while. Now, my favorite thing is just going for walks on a snowy morning, but I like to make sure the sidewalks have been shoveled.
Yeah.
You're still muted, Sarah.
Sorry about that. Thanks. Linda, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Hi, I'm Linda McCullough, and she and her pronouns. And since I don't ski anymore, I think my favorite winter activity is sitting by a fireplace.
Excellent. Thank you. Mike or Ethel, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Mike Young. My wife and I are fairly recent arrivals in Missoula, and so interested in learning more about the POV. And our favorite winter activity is cross-country skiing.
Fabulous. Thanks for joining us today. And then Ethel, would you like to finish?
Yeah. I'm Ethel, and I am just a supporter. I do a monthly donation, and I think you do good work. And today I'm not on video because I am super busy and I'm expecting a call I have to take. So if I leave, that's why. But I wanted to at least check in with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today. And we have Lisa sharing some info about our shelter services next. So Lisa, I'll pass it off to you. Thanks.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks, Sarah. And if my throat's a little scratchy today, so if I kind of cut in and out, I apologize. Hopefully I won't, but yeah, pre-warning. Yeah, so like Sarah said, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of our programs and highlight the importance of us running our emergency winter shelter during the winter months. I think I said at the beginning, I'm the director of programs, so I do oversee kind of a lot of our kind of ancillary programs outside of just our direct shelter program. And we'll kind of dive in briefly on each of those. Before I do that, I just want to talk about the winter shelter briefly. Something that I feel has been very important to share with community members as we've begun running this shelter is just to highlight why we feel it's so important to have it in place. And really at the end of the day, it does go back to the reality that we want people to be safe and have a warm place to go if they need to. And in reflecting on years past, I think almost every year we do unfortunately lose an unhoused individual due to exposure to the elements. And last year with our facility running, we actually did not lose anyone for that specific reason, which is like the first time in my experience in this work in Missoula. And I've been doing work here since 2015 in this area, and probably much longer before that. So I think that just highlights how beneficial it is to have kind of a drop-in related facility that is low barrier and allows folks to come access services 24/7, even if they have are intoxicated or have some other concerns. We want to be as open and welcoming as we can be dependent on certain behaviors as well. So I just want to highlight why we feel it is so important to like add that additional effort during our winter months outside of just our Poverello facility. So that's kind of that side. And then kind of diving into our programs that are ancillary to just the shelter. So we have a good handful. I'll start with our veteran programs. We are able to operate a couple different transitional housing veteran programs. One is called our Housing Montana Heroes, and that one operates on the Poverello facility site. And then we also have our Valor House program that is in a separate building kind of out near Target. And both of those allow veterans to stay up to 2 years and have targeted case management that helps them work on long-term housing stability, and sometimes can help folks get connected to housing assistance, financial, or cutting down barriers. It can be really expansive, and we can assist with like mental health care and substance abuse care, getting them connected to all those resources. We also have what we call our veteran shelter program, which is a lot like a much lighter touch, but does allow other veterans who maybe aren't in our transitional housing programs to still meet with a case manager and get access to all the same type of resources if they're interested in doing that. Yeah, so that's kind of our veteran side of things, and we're always trying to grow and think of new ways to explore that arena. We also have our medical respite program, which right now is kind of small. We have one case manager, and we are able to, I think, take about 4 men and women each for that program at the moment, just due to COVID restrictions on how many folks we can have in a room. And how that program operates is largely as a way to help reduce costs to hospitals. So if someone is recovering from an acute illness or maybe a surgery, something like that, like for myself or maybe many of you, I can be discharged from the hospital pretty quickly and go continue my recovery at home. Whereas folks who are unhoused often end up staying in hospitals for longer, or they are discharged to the streets, where then they don't really have the ability to recover in the way that they need to. So our medical respite program operates with the hope that we can provide someone a semi-private safe space to continue their recovery, and also work with our case manager who will focus on housing, but also focus on helping individuals access their healthcare. So making sure that they, if they didn't have a primary care provider before, that they're able to get connected with one, helping them show up to their follow-up appointments if they have any. There's a whole variety of options there as well. So that's one program, another program that we run. And that really it's a great program to help just reduce the need and the use of hospitals for longer than we need to. And then in the long run can save taxpayer dollars as well. So it's really beneficial with that whole picture. Moving on to a couple other, or kind of my last group, is our food and volunteer programs. So those ones are obviously less direct with the folks accessing our service in like a structured way. But we do have our food programs that we're allowed to offer 3 meals here at the Poverello site every day, 365 days a year. And then at the J Street Center, so our winter shelter, we do provide a warm meal for lunch Monday through Friday. And then we also have a partnership with the Meadowlark, the family housing center in town, to provide dinners, I think right now, 5 days a week. And that's always kind of up for review, which days we bring food over there, but it's been a great partnership to take on as they've opened their facility as well. And then we also are able to provide sack lunches, so folks who cannot come on site can take a meal with them to go, whether they're going to work or medical appointments, really anything that any of us might have going on throughout the day where we can't make it to a structured mealtime, they're able to take a sack lunch in that way. And then we do have a small food pantry on site that operates a few times a week and is really provided with that intention of providing kind of supplemental materials, like in addition to the general food bank that we have in town and other resources, we like to be able to offer more as we can too. And what's great about our food programs is that the majority of the food we have coming into that program is from our food rescue truck, where we are able to go to different stores and restaurants and places around town and pick up food that might otherwise be going to the landfill or being thrown out. We are able to give it a second life, so to speak, and allow it to then be, used instead of just thrown in the trash. And something exciting recently is we do work with a farmer at the moment who's able to take our scraps and compost and supply that to her pigs and other farmers that that live near her, which has been a great new partnership to really see that food kind of go through many different cycles and staying out of the landfill and just having multiple lives, more than what we typically see. And then, I feel like I'm rambling on. So Sarah, please cut me off if I'm going too long. The last kind of little program, not even little, it's actually quite huge, is our volunteer programs, which is really which we rely on a lot in a lot of different ways. So throughout the year, we have various events where we might have volunteers come out in larger numbers. So especially, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holidays, we have more folks coming in and helping out in the kitchens, or maybe helping out with like gift drives or donation drives. If you can think it, we'll entertain the idea and we can make it happen with the volunteers that we have. We also have folks come for regular shifts in our kitchen to assist with food prep. I know in the past we've had folks just help out at our front desk at the shelter. When we do our pumpkin drive, we have a bunch of volunteers come out and pick pumpkins and haul that. And sometimes even have volunteers just help with like cleaning the spaces as we need it. We also have volunteers who can go out with our homeless outreach team, which is a whole other program I was about to completely forget to share about. So that's a good segue as well. So we also have our homeless outreach team, which is a group of 6 individuals currently that are able to engage with folks who are unhoused and typically shelter resistant. Either they prefer not to access shelter services, or for one reason or another, they might not be able to access services. So our outreach team goes to them, meets them where they are at, and provides them a lot of the similar services that our shelter staff might provide folks accessing shelter. So sack lunches, socks, just the gear so they can stay safe in the elements. Also connections to resources, occasionally, actually more frequently than occasionally, even some housing navigation support. So getting folks connected to housing and from the streets to permanent housing is a big part of that mission as well. And then a lot of community outreach. So we do hand our outreach number out to businesses, just everyday people, in the hopes that if you see someone who appears to be experiencing homelessness or maybe causing issues or concerns, but not so much so that you feel like police might need to be called, we really try and encourage the public to reach out to our homeless outreach team, and they will actually respond to that call in the moment and go try and connect with that individual or individuals. A lot of the times our team know the people already and are able to kind of just have a conversation and figure out what's going on. And if there's any problematic behaviors happening, they can kind of work through that and move on, or they can help the individual get to a safer space for them as well. So that's kind of a very brief overview of the HOT team. And I think just generally a very brief overview of most of our programs. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I'm happy to take questions or dive in deeper, whatever is preferable.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa. I just want to hold the space now for anyone's questions. Okay.
Actually, well, maybe Trina is going to say a little bit about this. I mean, I will hold that. I know Trina's coming next, so I'll shut up and ask. I might have a question for the two of you to go in a little bit deeper of in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would just then kind of invite Trina to speak on, the role of supporting clients as lead staff at this time.
All right, thanks. I'm Trina again, and I am lead staff, and I mainly support the Johnson Street Shelter. However, I bounce back and forth between the two. And here at the Johnson Street Shelter, we do just a lot of support for, mentally helping folks deal with some of the things they're going through. And we help them get their Social Security cards, IDs, birth certificates, things that they need in order to further try to get themselves out of this situation that they're in. I make sure that we've got quite a few new staff members hired on just to help man the Johnson Street Warming Shelter, and they're doing great. They're definitely falling into their roles as direct care staff. And we just make sure that people are safe, they have dignity, respect, that they're warm, that they're fed. We try to get them a regular sack lunch. Sometimes they use shelf-stable meals that are provided just so they can fill that empty spot. But for the most part, we just make sure that everybody is safe and support their needs, whatever they need, clothing, coats, somebody to talk to, which a lot of them don't have. So that's basically my role. I make sure that everything is inputted into our computer system, so we have an accurate count of people staying. We do definitely have more people this year than we did last year staying at the winter shelter. So, that's good and bad, because knowing things are so, that things aren't getting better out there with COVID and everything. But we do definitely have more people earlier on staying here at the warming shelter. So at least we know our services are definitely needed and helping people. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Trina.
And Lisa or Trina, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about why low barrier is so important at a place like the Johnson Street Shelter, or just in general, beyond even just like helping keep people alive, but why encouraging more people to come into shelter is important through that low barrier strategy.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tackle that. So at the Poverello Center, we have a zero tolerance. And so having a low barrier shelter gives more people the opportunity to have a safe place to go. I would say addiction and mental illness are one of our top ranking reasons that we have homeless individuals. And right now we are also encouraging having people go to self-help groups. I know that the homeless outreach team has been able to transport some of our people. And, with people that are under the influence of anything, it gives their receptors fake information. So they think they can be out in the cold longer, or they think that they can tolerate more things. And knowing that they have a place to go where they're accepted and they can come and be safe is very important. And because it's really hard when you're working at like the Poverello Center and there's no place to send somebody that may have had a few drinks and aren't able to stay the night. So now it gives us the option, if they are trying to get into the Poverello Center, that they can come over to the Johnson Street shelter and still have a place to go.
I would also add, it's another opportunity for our staff and other service providers to have an interaction with individuals who need it. So our Johnson Street facility, our winter shelter facility, we often see folks accessing those services who are less likely to engage in non-winter times. So it's an opportunity to really work on building those relationships with individuals who want change or maybe are open to making changes in their lives, and then be able to have those conversations and present options to them in a safe space. I think when we don't have the facility open, a lot of those individuals kind of are doing their own thing, don't feel welcome in a lot of spaces, and aren't able to learn about the different resources that exist or know where to go to access them. So when we have the facility open, it just opens that opportunity for everyone to engage in those types of conversations and consider making changes in their lives if that's what they want, or just accessing resources that they might not have known about before.
I have a question. It's Linda McCullough.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just wondering, when they're turned down like the Poverello Center to go somewhere else, how do they get to that somewhere else? How are they transported, or do they have to find transportation on their own? I'm curious.
Sometimes it can be the bus system. I know that a lot of our guests are very used to taking the bus system. And some walk, or some will find rides with other clients that are at the Poverello. It's just a kind of a mix, I guess. And most people, unless they're new to homelessness, a lot of our guests know that they can't enter the Poverello under any kind of substances. And so they usually try to make their way over here earlier, but as of right now, it's kind of either the bus, walking, biking, or find a ride.
Thank you.
And then Marilyn, do you have a question?
I do. I do have a question. You mentioned that you provide clothing sometimes at the J Street facility. Do you have clothing available there that's been donated, or how does that work?
We do run strictly off of donations. And so sometimes we have clothing and sometimes we don't. Which, over here, there is people that get wet a lot because they're outdoors, or they, many different needs for clothing, and they don't have a lot. I do know that the River City Church is going to come over on Wednesday evenings and see if they can help with clothing. They're also going to do, like they did last year, they kind of just did if somebody wanted to talk to somebody for support, they would be available. And so, but yes, we run strictly off of donations.
I just have one more question. I recently ran into a woman with 3 small children who was homeless and sleeping in her car. And I know you don't have children at the Poverello, and probably not the J Street facility either, right? And if the Y at Meadowlark, if they're full, do you have any suggestions for a person like that?
Marilyn,
That's
go ahead,
one of our,
Lisa.
that's one of our toughest situations that we have. And usually for us here, we do try to refer them to the Y, but other than that, we give them, 549 HOPE or, some of the other organizations around town that may be able to help. And so that's one of our really big heartbreakers here,
I'm sure.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. I know as well on the Meadowlark side of things, just in various community meetings I've been a part of, they are working diligently to kind of continuously re-examine their policies for how they can ensure families do have access to shelter every night. And I think I would definitely encourage connecting with them directly for more information on that. But I know I've heard, just like what happened, I think when we opened this newer facility, they were hoping they had the capacity correct. And then lo and behold, a lot more people need the resource than we thought. So we're kind of moving in the right direction to have those supports available, but are continuing to kind of run into difficulties. But I do know that the Meadowlark facility is thinking really creatively about how they can find more supports for families as they feel capacity. So hopefully there'll be some positive change coming soon in that area.
Thanks.
Liam?
Yeah, this is just a question kind of off of Marilyn's question for Lisa and Trina. I know back in the day, there was the Family Promise program where folks kind of rotated through churches. And I realized in my development role, I'm just too disconnected to know if that's still around, or how does that stand?
Yeah, so the Meadowlark facility is actually a partnership between the YWCA and Family Promise. So essentially that program merged with them to develop this new facility. And I believe, like, a message I've heard recently is that they are still trying to reach out to their support networks within Family Promise, because it is very volunteer heavy and run. And it's just kind of a lot of re-examining of how they run that program now that there's an actual facility and what that can mean. And again, I don't want to speak incorrectly about it, so I don't want to dive too deeply with it, but they are in partnership with the Y for the Family Housing Center.
Cool,
Yeah.
thank you.
And just to pivot this to the kind of the bigger picture again, beyond just these things, is that, we have this crisis of homelessness, families. Frankly, the other big group that's not really talked about a lot, and it's a big hole, is youth homelessness and transitional age youth. And then even adults homelessness is that all the shelter systems, and this is probably being more blunt than I should be, but is really, we're a Band-Aid, right? And as we look at the bigger picture, as a community, we really have to address our affordable housing issues. I know that this is a problem that the Meadowlark is having. The problem we have is we have lots of people that we're working with that, if there was available housing, they've got vouchers, they've got the support they need to actually get into that housing. But we've got a 0% vacancy rate, or a virtual 0% vacancy rate in our community right now. We've got some affordable housing coming online in the next couple of years, but we need to, I think, as a community, be advocating for the generation of a lot more affordable housing in this community to really address the crisis that we're facing around this in terms of long-term solutions. And then with a kind of a specificity towards a type of housing called permanent supportive housing, which is kind of designed for folks that are in that more chronically homeless space, people that need some more wraparound services and things like that, to be able to be successful in staying housed once we get them in their housing. And there's a couple of those developing. There's, last year about this time, the Cornerstone Housing Project opened up, and that filled up immediately. You probably heard a lot in the news about the Trinity Housing Project, and a portion of that is going to be some more permanent supportive housing. But we probably need a couple more 100 units of permanent supportive housing to meet the need we have in our community. And then probably, just being frank, several thousand more units of affordable housing in this community. It's amazing. We have staff who have had recent experiences with either homelessness or severe housing instability, and that is it's tragic. There's people who are homeless right now who really shouldn't be. in a normal rental market, they wouldn't be homeless. And that is a systemic issue that as a community, I think we need to push our elected officials on. We need to push community leaders on, business leaders in terms of figuring out solutions for that issue to really address some of the things that are going on right now. So sorry for taking over that. I'll get off my soapbox now in terms of that point. But when we have that conversation about, Marilyn, that experience you had in terms of meeting someone on the streets, like likely that family shouldn't be in that spot because they should have a space to go to if we were in a normal housing market.
And I'd kind of like to reiterate that because yes, I feel as though, because we have a lot of people that do have vouchers and they can't get in. And I am one of those people. I am going to be homeless as of January 1st because my landlord wants to remodel and up the rent by $1,000, which they can. And so that is one of the biggest things that I see as a crisis for our centers right now as well, because we can't help the people move forward without having a place for them to move forward to.
Yeah, thank you, Trina and Jesse, for kind of bringing us back to that. It's so critical when we're, as we're having these conversations, it can't be forgotten. So thank you. Are there any additional questions at this time? Otherwise, I'll kind of go into my little spiel about how to support the POV. Okay. Oh, thank you. I just want to kind of touch on the volunteering opportunities. Of course, we're always looking for kitchen volunteers, and we are currently recruiting for Christmas volunteers. We'll be having meal services at both Johnson Street and the Poverello Center on Christmas Day. And we're looking for kind of those special Christmas time foods like canned biscuits and cranberry sauce and ham. But then we're also recruiting for more volunteers during that time. And another call that our kitchen manager alerted me of is store-bought pies for dessert on Christmas Day. So if you come across any of those items and want to donate to the West Broadway location, that's awesome. Our Thanksgiving meal service was a great success. We got to feed so many people in the community with a beautiful meal, and it was just all around awesome. We had a lot of volunteers, so Christmas will be a little lighter on volunteers, but it will still be a beautiful meal. And then our supply donations, it's a really busy time of year for that kind of stuff, supply drives in the community and whatnot. We're always accepting cold weather items, particularly gloves, socks, hand warmers, boots, jackets, and that kind of things. Additionally, linens like towels and sheets are always something that we're kind of going through quickly and are continually in need of. I think that's about it. Is there anything? So I think that's about it. If anyone has questions about that, please let me know, or just anything in general, but then I think we can wrap up a little early. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to say quick, Ashley asked, hey, Liam, a donor just showed up with some donations. Could you go check in on that real quick, please? Thank you. Sorry about that. I had just someone come in my office trying to ask me about that in midstream. So I'm going to ask Liam to do that. I just wanted to say two things. One, to say super thank you to Lisa and Trina for stepping here and taking their time to come and talk with everybody. They are frontline staff seeing stuff in the real world every day in terms of the work we're doing. So just appreciate you coming and spending a little time sharing about what's going on there. And then just to say a big thank you to all of you. All of you that are on with us are big time supporters of ours. We really couldn't do it without you. During these holiday seasons in particular. It's just so great to have you there. If you do volunteer on Christmas Day, you'll likely be hanging out with me. It's my tradition to actually work the kitchen. I love the kitchen. I have a background in food service, so I always pick Christmas as the day to let the kitchen staff have the day off, and I go run the kitchen, kind of. They actually just tell me what to do. But then my family's there. It's great. So if you've got a chance to come and volunteer on Christmas Day, we'd love to have you there. And would love to see you during the day in person and that kind of really fun event as we go through the Christmas season. So again, thank you so much for your support here. We will be doing our next online supporter update is going to be in a month. I think it's January 4th. Thank you. And we're going to have we've been doing a lot of work with our data this last year. We got a grant from the St. Joseph's Community Partnership Foundation to bring in a data specialist that's been working with us this last year. And he's going to come in and talk a little bit about what we've been doing with that project and where we're going. We actually just learned we got a new grant that kind of expands on that work that'll allow us to kind of take the next step with that to really better understand our what services we're providing, what are the outcomes, how can we get people pointed at the right kind of resources and those types of things. It's really exciting. Would encourage you to check that out. I know data can sound a little like, oh, that sounds boring, but it's actually really interesting stuff. Maybe just for me, I'm a data nerd, yeah. But I think it's worth to kind of hear from Mike about what we're doing there. He's our data specialist, and so encourage you to come join us with the next online supporter update for there. Tim, do you have something to say?
Yeah, don't you have another one maybe 2 weeks from now that concentrates only on the Johnson Street activity? It's another web.
Yeah, and we do our regular neighborhood meetings that are for on the 20th will be the Poverello Center neighborhood meeting. And that's at 5:30. That's specifically for neighbors of the Poverello area. And then I believe it's January
6th.
Is the Johnson Street one, and that's at noon.
Okay.
And those are meetings that really are about neighbors and kind of addressing concerns and what's going on. And then,
but Sarah, will you send out an email on that again? Sarah?
Oh, yes.
So I'll get an email hopefully on that.
Oh yeah, you'll get the email about a week before is when I typically send those, and then the day before for details.
Okay.
Oh yes, thank you, Lisa. Also, the Hope Citizens Memorial is coming up on the longest night of the year, the 21st. We'll be having a public-facing memorial outside of the Poverello Center at 6 p.m. that evening. And then another memorial will also be held at the Johnson Street, but it's more of a private, more intimate kind of setting where the people that are most affected can kind of have that quiet space to honor the lives lost.
So you're saying that the 21st is the longest night of the year, is it? Is that right? 21st.
Yeah, it's the equinox. So.
And you can stream it online. MCAT will be streaming that one online if you don't want to stand out in the cold.
Okay, thank you,
Jesse,
Sarah.
where will the link be accessible?
It'll be shared through Facebook, and then on MCAT's page, and then also on the Poverello Center's page.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
Are those both at 6, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll just be happening at the same time. MCAT will only be at the Poverello Center, so that'll be more of a.
Wow. So I understand over there on Mullen Road, just east of the prison there, and just off of Broadway, there's a brand new, huge building being built. That's going to be. Is that one of the ones you mentioned earlier?
It is. That's the Trinity Project is the one that's there, and that's going to have, I think it's 30 units of this permanent supportive housing. It will be going there, and then I think there's another. I'm Lisa, do you know how many other units for that's just affordable?
I want to say 100 plus or minus, like it's a good chunk of.
Yes, it's big.
Yeah.
It's big.
And there's going to be actually another part of that which doesn't get as much airtime, but the old Skyview Trailer Park, which is over by the Burn Street Bistro, is also getting developed as part of that same project. And that's going to be like another like 60 units of senior affordable housing. So targeting senior folks as affordable housing. And so that you don't see it as much. The other big project that's coming online is what's called the Villaggio, which is going to be up on the north side. That's a couple hundred units of affordable housing. It's actually going to be the single largest individual affordable housing project in Missoula's history, which is exciting, though a little scary that that's we still need more even after that one. And then there's another project that's going in on Scott Street that's going to have a mixed use with affordable housing. That's one coming down the line. And then of course we've got our big brouhaha. Hopefully I'm not going to make the golfers mad, but there's a proposal to do some interesting stuff with the Larchmont Golf Course that's out in the community right now, which could potentially do up to 2,000 units of housing, a lot of that affordable, which would be pretty interesting. So, the POV doesn't have a formal opinion on that.
Yeah. Well,
I might, but the POV doesn't.
You know, they've chased everybody out from under the Reserve Street Bridge, you know, quite a bit. And have they? I heard there's some kind of a new camping area they're trying to develop just west of the Walmart. And by the way, have you heard? Is that thing operating yet, or?
Lisa, you have an update about that, right?
Partial, I can try. So it's not updating yet or operating yet. But yeah, so that one will, I'm trying to think of the title. I believe it's called an authorized camping site. And they're hoping to, I believe, open that shortly after the new year. As happens with projects and things, it's continued to kind of get pushed a little bit, but they are much closer than they were being able to start that. And that site is really going to be pretty low barrier, just kind of tent availability. And I believe they might be trying to have some security as well. And there's a couple of other projects kind of in coordination with that I don't want to speak incorrectly on, that might have a little bit more support than that authorized camping site. So in the coming months, I believe those will be opening.
Sure. Okay. That's enough.
Lisa, one quick follow-up on that. Who is going to operate the authorized camping site?
So I don't know for certain. I do know it's not going to be staffed in a traditional way, is my understanding. So they'll probably have security on site. And then they're trying to really pull together our outreach efforts in the community to ensure that those groups are going to that site to regularly check in. So that might be like our homeless outreach team will probably put that into their rotation of locations they stop by. There's also, I believe they're calling it a community care team that is kind of in the works through another agency in town that will be kind of doing a lot of this similar work as the homeless outreach team, but hopefully including some street medicine type of work as well. But that's also very new. Yeah.
But just for clarity, this isn't a Poverello Center operation.
Yeah.
Not us. Yeah, I have more details if it was. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you all so much for joining us today.
Yes.
And I'd just like to tell Lisa, happy birthday.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's her
happy birthday,
today.
Lisa.
Thank you.
We'll spare you singing, but
Yeah.
We can't sing in unison, can we, on this thing?
it's always rough.
I know.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And I'll look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you to you guys for supporting us. It means a lot to us and to our guests.
See you soon. See you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Ethel.
Thanks, Ethel.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Cool.
Wasn't sure if this was a stay on or get off.
Yeah, no, yeah, thanks for staying on for a second. It's always good. We try to do a little bit of a debrief right after it. But yeah, good job, Lisa. Happy birthday.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel like I kind of was rambling and I was like, oh God, here I go. But that's how
No,
there's a lot
I
of
think-
information.
Yeah, I think it's perfect because we haven't had anything like this in this space for some time, you know, so
Okay,
it's
cool.
it's great.
Sweet.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that